Oh boy, this is going to be crazy. Hey guys, Jason Whaling here, and this is episode 1 of Building a Business Online from Scratch. I'm a little nervous about this. This is the first episode we're doing. Obviously, it's pretty low production value, just kind of my me here and the webcam, got the little laptop, the microphone over here, and I'm just going to talk about the kind of the big plan and what it's going to look like over the next couple of months. I do hope it's a couple months. Like I said in the intro video, there really isn't a master plan for this. This is really just going to be me communicating what I'm trying, what's working, what's not working, and hopefully you'll get a lot of value out of it. And of course, you can always drop questions in the comment section below, and I'll go ahead and answer those in future videos, or just make another video to answer those questions if it's a good enough question, or if it's going to take more than a couple seconds to respond to. So anyway, in this episode, I wanted to just talk about kind of the big dream and the crazy plan I have come up with to make this successful. So like I said in the intro video, if you haven't watched that, that's okay. I'll just give you a quick spiel. I'm just going to build a consulting practice from scratch. And I'm going to do it a little differently, very differently than what most people, A, say they're doing, and B, what most people have done, because I've learned from hard lessons learned that it makes a whole lot more sense to look at what other people are doing and then kind of reverse engineer their success and see, okay, they did this or they did that, kind of where did they start and where are they now, and what did they do in between that, right? So they started here, they ended here, but what happened in between? And that's part of what this video series is designed to do, is to just show you what happens in between there. For me personally, the only difference is we don't really know what the end looks like, right? We only know here, it's just me sitting here talking to you at this point. So looking at how other big successful kind of solopreneurs have made it, this isn't about building some $100 million software company or something. Like this isn't about creating a crazy disruptive technology. This is about figuring out, okay, how does someone as a normal person with a relatively normal job, relatively normal life circumstances, I say that relatively, right, because we're all different, turn their passion, skill, or hobby, definitely want to focus on the skill part of that, not so much the passion and hobby, into a successful online business. So I think I've rambled on enough about that. So I'm going to dive into what exactly I'm looking at in terms of the state of the internet and what you need to do to be successful from what I've observed thus far. So I'm going to show you my observations, and then I'm going to show you my plan based on my observations. And hopefully in a couple months it proves to be right. If not, oh well, back to the drawing board, but at least we're both going to figure out what's working now and what's not working now. So the biggest thing I've noticed is kind of the death of the PDF guides, because a lot of where we started as with marketing products and services online, whether you're trying to build a consulting practice like I eventually am, or you just want to sell information products, the whole days of, oh, we'll throw up a landing page and then offer a PDF guide, they're pretty much dead. And they're dead because the free line has shifted backwards. So in the past, we kind of had the blog posts, and then we had the free PDF guide, then maybe we had the sales presentation. Hopefully it had value in that, depending on whatever guru you learned from. And then we evolved into launches, and then I think we evolved or kind of transformed into webinars. My personal opinion, webinars and launches are kind of the way to go. I think the other media, unless you're in some specific niches, those two are going to be your kind of go-to. Anyway, so back to the death of the PDF guides. We have content marketers that essentially make blog posts that are more valuable than those free PDF guides we used to give away by asking for a name and email. So when someone goes to your website and you say, ask for a name and email for, a white paper, a special PDF report or whatever, that's the bar and value on those things are just so low. And as someone who's been fumbling around with this for years, nothing personal against you if you're doing this, but 9.9 out of 10 times when I opt into a list for that coveted PDF guide that's going to show me something great, I look at it and go, could have gone to someone else's blog and found that, right? Because you have in the digital marketing space, you have guys like Neil Patel, Crazy Egg, Unbounce, Digital Marketer, pumping out these crazy high value blog posts every single day. It's almost possible to just never pay for any information. Like you can almost find anything you need on digital marketing from these content marketers. I mean, Backlinko does the same thing with SEO. I'll eventually probably pay for something for SEO, but for now, all his blog posts tell me all I need to know for SEO because I just want to do the basic stuff. Right. So that brings me to the webinar, which is kind of what the big plan is for me. And I'm going to talk about why I think webinars and launches are the best way to go at this point. I personally went with a webinar, mostly because it's simpler. I think a webinar is simpler, and I like the kind of one and done. And you can combine a webinar with a launch, and that to say that you can have the webinar, and then for the people that don't go to the webinar, you can just throw them through a launch sequence. So kind of two birds, one stone. Anyway, it's a tremendous amount of work though. So the big thing with the webinar is, number one, it still has value. They haven't all been tainted yet. Eventually, people are going to get jaded because there's so many terrible webinars out there where I see these webinars, they're like 40 minutes long and there's 20 minutes of introduction, 5 minutes of content, and then they go straight into the pitch. And you sat there for 40 minutes and you go, I got 5 minutes worth of stuff. It's almost as bad as some of the PDF guides you get now. So the webinar definitely needs to be at least maybe an hour, hour and a half, actually provide value. And the big thing with that is, number one, advertising is getting really expensive. So you need to be offering something that's really high value that's actually worth someone's name and email. In fact, I'd go so far as to say, when you're creating a front-end offer, you're creating your webinar, make it as good as if someone would pay money for it. And so that's what I've done with my webinar. And in future episodes, I'm going to go through all the steps I went through and the systems and the courses I used to put it together. But you want the webinar to be super high value because it needs to stand alone, not only designed to sell your product, but also be that front end kind of lead magnet offer that gets people to give you your name and email. So that's my philosophy and kind of things behind it. And that's why I've decided to go with a webinar. And the webinar is actually going to sell a $997 product that teaches people how to go from zero to authority using a very specific type of funnel and a sales funnel and content and authority building process. So selling that on the front end is where most people would stop. But I know that my end goal is to get high-paying consulting clients. That's kind of the end goal for me. That's what I really want to do. I want to be able to wake up in the morning and spend my day talking to people helping them grow their business who actually want to talk to me. I don't want to wake up and then need to have a list of people I need to cold call, or a bunch of people who filled out some random survey that I put up online to possibly work with me. I want them to have already put in some time and effort into myself and my products, and that product being the webinar and the front end offer that I'm making. So at this point you might be thinking, okay, so he's doing a webinar and he's doing a webinar and he's got this $997 front end offer. Don't you normally have a front end offer that's like 30 or 50 bucks, maybe 97 bucks or $37 a month, whatever it may be? And yes, most people try and go for that front end, easy, just kind of quick $30 or $50. And that's on the information product side. And then on the consulting side, there's this popular model that I'm seeing that I just gotta say that it's not, it just doesn't work. And this is or I'm not gonna say it doesn't work. It's ineffective if you don't already know how to sell. Like if this model works for you, then you probably already have more advanced models working for you. And it's this idea that you can just advertise to Facebook and then have people go to a landing page. They sign up for some short video. They watch a short video, and then they fill out this survey. And in that survey, you ask them a bunch of questions about their, if it's for weight loss, you ask them about their weight goals or their health goals. If it's for relationships, you ask about their, past relationships. Are they divorced? Are they married? Are they trying to save their marriage? They want to get out of their marriage, whatever. Hopefully it's not get out of their marriage, right? It's want to repair. And then of course in the business world, you have like, what's your business? How much money are you making? What are your big problems? Blah, 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 blah. So they fill out this wonderful survey, right? And then you're supposed to read this survey and then decide whether or not they're a good prospect for you. If they are, you're going to jump on the phone with them. You're going to magically solve their problem. And then at the end of the call, you try and close them. Well, unless you're used to going through that process over the phone, which I'm personally not, that terrifies me, and I don't do well live. That's why I do a webinar, because I can pre-record it, and then I only have to be live when people are asking me questions. I don't have to give the whole presentation live. I just have to show up at the end and answer questions. A lot easier. The hard part's done. But with a phone call, unless you like talking on the phone and you're 100%, 110% comfortable being able to close people, you're going to go through a very hard learning process where you're going to have a lot of conversations. And I did try this for a while. I was terrible at it. Doesn't mean you won't be, but that was just me. I found I was terrible at it, where you're going to have a lot of conversations. You're going to give all of this value. You're going to get to that last 5 minutes. You go, man, I knocked it out of the park. Like I just solved 50% of your revenue issues in 20 minutes. Like, why would you not hire me? And then they go, oh, okay, well, I'll think about it. And it's just so demoralizing, right? You're like, it's crystal clear to you. Like you can see the value, but either they don't see the value, or worse, they do see the value and they go, okay, well, I got what I needed out of this guy, so I'm just going to go do it now, and I'm not going to ask for his help. Or, the real funny ones are when when you hang up the phone with them, they'll say, I'll think about it. And then you get an email a week or two later of them asking additional advice. Like they clearly went and tried to do what you were saying you'd do for them. And then they want more free advice, and you just kind of shake your head and go, no, you can say, well, I'm glad you tried. Let's jump on the phone and I do this consulting and blah, blah, blah. And then you quote them the price again. And then of course you never hear from them because they were just freeloading anyway. So long rant here. I'm looking at the time. All right, I'm already at 14 minutes. So long rant. So what I want to do now is a picture of my sales funnel is going to magically appear on the screen, post edit. All right, so now we're looking at it. So here's the deal. With my webinar funnel, my goal is not to sell the $997 product. My goal with the $997 product is to essentially cover my ad and operations cost. So at the end of the day, I want to have a list of people who've gone through my webinar and purchased a $1,000 product for free. And so After this picture, I'll go through what the numbers look like and why I chose such a crazy high price point. And yes, it is crazy. Like it is crazy. Most people would look at that and go, why on earth would you start so high? But number one, it helps me position it kind of positions myself above a lot of the other beginners, and it puts me in the same ballpark as the guys who are 5 times successful as I am. So when I go and look at, Frank Kern's, hopefully one of these names makes sense to you, or you've heard of one of these names before. But if I go look at Lewis Howes, Mike Dillard, Frank Kern, Todd Brown, or Remit Sethi, their stuff, you're not going to see them selling things for $50. To get in the door with most of those guys, it starts around $1,000, $1,500. I'm definitely on the low end of what they're offering, but I want to, from day one, be put in that category. Now, I'm working really hard to provide the same amount of value as those guys, if not more in some instances where I can. But I don't want to be lumped in with everybody else who's doing that $30 and $50 front end offer. So that's why I chose that crazy high price point, and I'm calling it a lead magnet, because I don't think you need to have that $7 ebook or $30 mini course to pay for your advertising. And honestly, that kind of content, the other great thing about it is my plan here is that kind of content that would be in that $7 ebook or would be in that $30 mini course, you're just going to get for free here on my YouTube channel. So you're going to consume that kind of content from me for free and hopefully have success. And then you'll come, whether you got it through one of my Amazon books that are in the works coming out, or you got it from my blog or another video on my YouTube channel, wherever it was, those lower price point products, I've just moved that free line back because I'm not going to make money on those anyway. So I'm not going to go through the arduous work of setting up membership sites, setting up shopping carts, setting up landing pages, split testing ads to essentially break even with that stuff. I'm just going to give it all to people for free. And then those select few who actually are ready, willing, and able to spend $997, then they'll actually be on my list, and I'll have a list of people I know are willing to spend a significant amount of money. I don't care how much money you make, dropping $900 on something is substantial. So back to the picture here, right? So in the front, we have the ads, and that's primarily I'm going to be doing Facebook ads eventually. Then I'm going to try YouTube ads, and then I'm going to try Twitter ads. I'm starting with Facebook and YouTube because they have the most built out advertising platforms. Facebook, I can really target in on my ideal customer, which I've already come up with. I'll do that in a future episode. And then excuse me, and then YouTube is essentially AdWords. And so part of my actual day job is being a PPC specialist for for a marketing company. So that's something I'm really familiar with. So I already know that AdWords has a lot of powerful tools that will enable me to kind of focus in and advertise. The Twitter and Instagram ads, not as much build out, so I'm not going to do those. Definitely not going to do those in the beginning. So they're going to go to a landing page. As you can see here, that's the next step. And then hopefully I get a 20 to 30% opt-in rate on the landing page. And of course, this is from relatively cold traffic. They might have seen one blog post or one video of me, and then now I'm asking for their email for this webinar. Once they opt in, they're going to see a preview video for the webinar. They're just going to saying, hey, welcome, thank you, date and time, all that fun stuff. Depending on when they show up, I'm going to do the webinars just about every single day. So 24 or 48 hours later, they're going to hopefully they'll show up to the webinar. Of those of those people, I think I'm estimating like a 60% rate to at least click through, with a 50% drop off halfway through. And I'll go to a spreadsheet towards the end of this video where you can see how these numbers play out, and then you'll see like, oh wow, you really do need to charge $9.97 to break even on this stuff. And then hopefully one or two people stay towards the end. They ask me some questions on the live Q&A. I mean, the webinars are in fact going to be live. I'm doing a hybrid where I've actually already recorded the webinar, but I am sitting there answering questions, and then I come on live at the end to answer questions. And so that's what allows me to say on my landing page that it's going to be live. Of course, I would never say that it's live if the whole thing was automated, right? Because that's just disingenuous, and you're going to lose a lot of respect and trust there. So anyway, there's the webinar, and then they go to the sales page, sorry, not the sales page, the shopping cart checkout. One or two people hopefully buy, and then, and only then, do they go into my sequence for upselling them on consulting. And the reason I'm doing all of that is, number one, I want to, from the get-go, position myself as a high value consultant. Like, my time is valuable. If you watch a video, fill out a survey, and then I call you and offer you 20 or 30 minutes free of my time, that doesn't communicate. There's a balance between exclusivity and then just being a jerk with your time. And I think being that short, having that short of kind of a relationship, I'm still in a position where I have to do a tremendous amount of pitching, because I'm not going to know that much from you filling out a survey. And most people who fill out the survey will probably just give 1 or 2 word answers. And then it's going to take me a while to do research and figure out who this person is, and then try and convince them to pay me $350, $400 an hour to essentially help grow or start their business. So that is a super basic run through of what my advanced, I'm going to call this advanced consulting funnel, because it's definitely not the simplest. But hey, you know what? I'm not here because I want to do things easy, right? I'm here because I want to do things in a way that I think is going to maximize my long-term success, even if it's going to take me an additional 3 or 4 months to get off the ground, which, by the way, it has. I mean, it took me about 3 months to go from start to finish writing all of the sales copy I needed and recording the webinar. So we're coming in right at the beginning, right before launch. I decided to hold off on recording episodes because I'd come to you every week and be like, well, I wrote another 1,500 words this week, and it was really exciting. Like, that's a little too boring for being inside an operation. So finally, I want to end with a kind of breakdown of what it looks like in number terms. And I'm going to jump into an Excel sheet. I realize this is quite a long episode, right? Maybe I'll figure out how to shorten these. But you know what? I just get excited. I want to talk to you guys. I want to tell you all the things that are happening. And even though I have notes in my screen, you'll get all the, by the way, you'll get all the notes in the description below. So you can go ahead and click that, and you'll see kind of the major points that I talked about, because I do kind of have an outline for this. But as you can tell, it's 24 minutes. I didn't write out 24 minutes worth of stuff, right? So anyway, I'm going to now jump into the Excel sheet and show you the numbers so you can understand the importance of the $9.97 price point.
Okay, so here is a super basic, I mean super basic Excel sheet. As you guys watch more of these episodes with me, you'll see that I am a huge Excel junkie, and I love putting together Excel sheets. Pretty much put together an Excel sheet for anything if I have an excuse to. I just threw this guy together in about 5 minutes before this video just because I wanted to show you the numbers. So a lot of courses out there talk about Facebook leads being a couple dollars or a couple cents. I'm just going to tell you right now, that's completely BS. All right. You're not going to start from day one only getting leads for $1.50, right? That takes, they're ignoring the fact that it's going to take a few months, if not half a year, to get to that point, because it just takes, it takes experience. So if you have money to hire someone, then go hire an expert, right? You can shoot me an email, I'll do it for you. But shameless plug there, right? But it's most likely going to start out around anywhere between $3 and $6 a click, because you're just getting started. You're just figuring this stuff out. And don't worry, in future episodes, I'll show you how to do it, because we're gonna go through everything. So here I have a budget set of, I'm starting with the ads, and we're just gonna run through the entire funnel really, really quickly. So for the ad budget, I have it at $9.97. And I set my cost per click to $6. That's probably, like, if you're starting out more than $6, then you probably didn't do enough work, foundational work. So I'm just being conservative here, saying it's going to cost me $6 just to get someone to my landing page. So with that budget, I'll get about 166 people. Of those 166 people, about 30% of them will register for the webinar. So that gives me 50 people. So that means I have an email list of 50 people. Of those 50 people, depending on the window, if it's 48 hours in the future, these are going to be less, but I'm assuming that this is 50 people that registered for a webinar within the next 24 hours, which is what I'm really going to push, because I don't want people to try and remember, like, oh yeah, I have a webinar coming up this Saturday or something like that. Like, it's going to be off their radar. So I want that 24-hour period of them clicking and opting in and coming and getting the value. Even if they don't buy in that 24-hour period, at least I've kind of packed that value into that 24-hour period, and they're more likely to remember me than the random guy they opted into a webinar a week ago, and I keep bombarding them with emails trying to get them to watch it. So that's kind of the goal here, just to get them to watch it. And then once I have them watch it, I have more license to provide additional content. And additional content means additional opportunities to provide additional value for money, right? Sales. So I have an email list of 50 people. I'm going to assume an open rate of 60%. And of that 60%, 60% will click. So we'll come over here. That means I have 18 webinar attendees. And you Excel folks, you can see the formulas up here. I'll just click F2. Real quick. You can pause the video if you really care, but all I did was just take 50 and multiply it by 60% twice to get 18. So that means from the 166 people that hit my landing page, only 18 show up. Now, chances are, even though they've showed up to the webinar, they're going to get distracted. The baby's going to cry, the girlfriend's going to call, the boyfriend's going to walk in, the wife is going to ask for something, the husband's going to need some help. Whatever it is, sibling needs help with his homework. I don't, I don't know. People, they're going to get distracted, or worse, they think I'm an idiot and hate the content and leave. Hopefully they just get distracted or they run out of time or whatever. But for whatever reason, they want to go to bed early. I'm just trying to show that there's a lot of legitimate reasons for people to leave. So I'm going to say 50% are going to leave before I even get to the pitch part of my webinar. So I'm going to assume that at least 9 people will start seeing the pitch. And my webinar is 1 hour and 37 minutes long at present. Just finished that last week. So that means they're going to be with me at least around an hour, I think an hour and 10 minutes. Just to give you an example, like an hour, 10 minutes is actual introduction and content. There's only like 20 minutes worth of, here's what you get, here's what I think, why I think this should be good for you, blah, 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 sell, right? Sell value, sell value, sell value, sell value. That's how the pitch goes. Anyway, so 9 people make it to the pitch. I'm going to say there's a 10% of people are going to click through to the order page. And that's a relatively high number, However, looking at all the micro commitments, those 9 people are very committed because they've opted in, they've actually opened my email, they've clicked on the link, they've attended the webinar, and they've stayed on the webinar. Those are 4 really big commitments to learning the content. So then I have the order page. This is, we can ignore the abandon rate because the abandon rate just assumes that, hey, you know what? There are going to be people who click on the link and then just do nothing, right? But you don't really want to worry about that until you've already got, all of this figured out. Then you can start looking at abandon rate. I just included that because eventually you're going to see a much more built out version of this, and I just wanted it there for future reference. So anyway, we're going to say that visits one person buys, and that gives me a net profit of exactly 0, covering my ad spend. So I did this on purpose. It took me a while to play with the numbers to get it right. But essentially, I spend $997 and I get one potential client for free. And that's just, so this is just starting out. So I'm trying on month 1 to be around break even. So if I go over here and I say my cost per click, let's say after, and I'm going to say 3 months. This is 3 months of testing. So I'm being clear. 3 months of testing, it drops to 3. I'm able to cut it in half, which is reasonable after 3 months. Now I'm up to 2 visits, and that's assuming I don't improve any of these things, right? Now I'm at two people at $997. Well, I can what most people would do is they would call this good because they're now making $997 per webinar. So if you decide to do it live, you sit on the webinar for about 2 hours. So that's about $400 an hour. I'm going to slap some off because there's, transaction fees. $400 an hour, that's pretty good. So, I mean, if you do one webinar a day under the model you're looking at right now, that's a pretty substantial income. However, what I'm looking at is I'm looking at long term. So once I get here, I'm actually going to increase the ad spend. So I'm going to come over here and now I can afford to spend more. So I'm going to double it, right? I'm going to double it again. And doubling the ad spend, cost per click staying the same, you'll notice now I have 4 sales and my net profit is around just under 2,000 per webinar. Like, okay, well, if it's under 2,000 a webinar, I can probably actually, go 5 times or something. And you'll notice that all of a sudden, the more money even though I'm spending much more money, I'm still netting a profit. And that's without any improvements along here. So so I hope that kind of illustrates the power of this. I'm going to Control Z for a second so you can see. So we started out spending $1,000 to essentially make $1,000. And then we poured that $1,000 back in. And over the course of 3 months, by simply lowering our cost per click, which is totally reasonable. In fact, I'm just going to do 4 this time, right? Lowering our cost per click, we're able to essentially make more money. So you go 4, you go 3, and 3 is kind of the breakthrough, right? Because I'm going to do 5, nothing really happens. 4, nothing really happens. 3, wow, you just hit maximum velocity.
And with that maximum velocity that you've hit, you're now able to essentially drive traffic for free. And so that model right there is really popular to show on webinars. I actually purposely didn't include that, but I want to reemphasize again, that's just the basic reason why I decided to go with such a high price point, because the amount of additional traffic I would have to drive in order to get to that kind of velocity with a $50 product. I mean, I'd need 5 or 6 times the traffic, which is actually going to take me a lot longer to hit that velocity point when compared to just offering a $997 product where I can hit that velocity point in 3 or 4 months. Now, keep in mind, that's 3 or 4 months of not making any money. So you're going to be driving traffic. I'm going to be driving I'm going to be driving traffic. I'm going to be doing webinars for 3 to 4 months and not make a dime. In fact, I'm going to be losing money because of transaction fees and cash flow. When someone pays, I'm going to have to probably pay for advertising before I get the money from the actual sale. All that fun money business stuff. Good thing I majored in accounting. And anyway, that's a super basic long-winded explanation of kind of the big dream. So the big dream is to reach that velocity point, and once I do, I will be able to take that extra cash that comes from selling that front-end product, pour it back into advertising even more tenfold, and then I can expand to other platforms. I have excess cash from my current advertising platform to put towards experimenting in the other platforms, and then that way I'm not doing that whole loss leader thing, like, okay, I'm pouring money into this, I'm not really seeing a return. All of the experimentation, all of the traffic sources begin building on each other, and it's done all for about zero out of pocket, if not a tiny little smidgen of profit. And then, of course, later on, once this is all up and running, I'll do another episode showing how it's working, showing what's not working. Of course, this is just kind of a big plan. And then I'll actually hopefully begin to make my money signing up 1 or 2 consulting clients for a couple hundred or a couple $1,000 a month. So that concludes episode 1. That's kind of the big dream, the big plan. If you're still watching, if you're still watching, my analytics would say you're probably like the 1/1000th, you're the 1 out of 1,000 people who would actually watch this entire video. So I want to thank you for sticking with me for probably at 30 minutes now. I had to chop it up because I went to the screen share and then back to the camera. So what I would really love from you is to, of course, subscribe for more videos like this one, and then much shorter videos, much shorter videos detailing specific actions that I'm taking to build the business. So I'll have videos on, how to set up your custom email. I'll take you inside my landing pages. I'll take you inside my webinar, talking about why I do certain things inside the webinar. And then, of course, eventually, once traffic's being driven, you'll be able to stay up to date as a subscriber with the income reports and be able to ask me questions and get the questions answered on these episodes. So if you're thinking about starting a business or you have one that's not really working, I invite you to come join this journey with me. I want you to learn from my mistakes as I kind of figure this out. Ask me questions in the comments. I do read them. I'm here and ready to answer them, whether I'm just going to give you a quick shout out back or I'll just include it in one of these episodes and let you know. I'm really excited to have you with me on this journey and see where it takes us. So until next week, I'm Jason Whaling again. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and then go ahead and hit that like button if you got some value out of this video, and I'll see you in the next video.